we're diving into backcountry backpacks with Jordan Budd of Rockcast. You're not going to want to miss this one. Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Timney Triggers. Now, I've been running Timney for a long time, and I'm going to tell you one thing. They're so simple to put in. Even I could do it. But the Model 7 Calvin Elite allows you to be more accurate with your rifle and provides a custom fit and adjustable shoes for precision, length of pull, cast, and height. Find your new trigger at timneytriggers.com. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. All right, welcome into another episode of Gun Talk Hunt. I am your host, KJ, and you know what? I'm swimming in the deep water. I'm finally committing to, diving into the backcountry thing. And in order to do that, 1, you got to get in shape. 2, you got to talk to the right people. And 3, you got to have the right equipment. And thankfully, I am getting in shape and I'm talking to the right people. And the right people today is my good buddy, Jordan Budd, from the whole Rockcast and Rokslide forums and podcast. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. No, it's an honor to have you on because, man, you're big time, and you actually, you're one of those people who grew up doing it, and that's benefiting to guys like me and the average person out there wanting to, develop their skills as a hunter. Today's Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Remington Ammunition, Hodgdon, the gunpowder people, and Pyramyd Air, your number one resource for everything air gun. Okay, Jordan, let's first off, let's get your background. Let's tell people who you are if they don't already know. I'll let you take it from here.
Awesome. So, yeah, my name is Jordan Budd. I grew up in Northwest Nebraska on my family's cattle ranch, which, that really, I was able to be slingshotted into the hunting things because everything was so close. Like everything was right at my back door, right? So mule deer, whitetail, antelope, Merriam turkeys, coyotes, kind of everything. Like I was able to do it pretty easily. And so that really got me, into the hunting side of things, and I really liked it. And when I was in high school, it's kind of funny. I got into cameras when I was in high school and trying to film my own hunts and do things like that. And I remember when I was littler, my parents had this giant video camera that was like VHS style. And I was always trying to take that thing with me too and just film animals, not so much like put a whole hunt together, but just film animals. It's kind of funny looking back on that. Like it must have always been in my brain that that's something that I like to do. But then when I was in high school, I actually bought a camera and saw how people were putting hunts together and tried to do that. So then that started the media business side of things, which, launched me into more of the Western hunting and being able to film and go on a ton of those hunts, which, really helped what I do for Rokslide now, like writing gear reviews and stuff like that. Is I get to go on so many hunts a year that it's a really good platform to test and review gear. And I'm a gear junkie. So
I'm self-admittedly as well a gear junkie, and
yeah.
But I think, you and I have had this conversation before that, there are times when guys rely so much on the gear, and they so are gear centric right now that they think that will make up for hard work, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, I really believe that. Like, so I run the Rockcast podcast, and if, I could have 2 episodes that are, let's say they're exactly the same, I just post them at 2 different times. And if one of them has the word gear in the title and the other one doesn't, the one with gear in the title, maybe 1,000 more listens. Like it's very substantial. And
really?
And I love the gear stuff, but it does get to a point where it's like, you don't need to buy whatever it is that you're buying to go, be successful in the field. Like some of the things definitely help. But yeah, I really think that that's something that can be controlled.
Right.
And you want to have as much control over taking the time to go out on this hunt and doing whatever, and you want to make sure that it's as good as it can be. But I do think that's kind of a control thing, and it can get spun out of proportion.
It really can. And I find myself doing it when I'm like, so I've hunted elk, but it's been, private land hunts with, my uncle up in British Columbia. And so I wouldn't consider that backcountry. I mean, it is very backcountry, but it's more, I'm sleeping in a cabin. I'm driving out on a electric bike to my hunting grounds, and then I go from there, and then I'm back home at night. And I've done the antelope thing, but this year was really kind of my first year. I'd put in for preference points, and all that good stuff, kind of biding my time. But I think I was kind of like everybody else who decided, you know what, this is a year I'm going to go out west. And I was lucky enough to draw. And now I'm like, oh crap, I am well under equipped. Because I'm a flatlander.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it, but we don't use frame packs here in Louisiana. It's just not happening. And so I guess my question is it where do guys start? And I mean, honestly, I'll tell you how I got started. I started listening to Rockcast, and I started looking at the gear reviews. I mean, there was I forgot who did it. You did a Rockcast with them, over pack, a full extensive pack review. Like 9 or 10 packs. And I start looking at stuff like that on what I need. And it's almost overwhelming. It's like when you go to buy fishing line in a Cabela's or a Bass Pro or an Academy or something like that, and you walk in and you see the wall of line, and you're like, holy crap, I'm over my head. Unless you know someone like Jordan Budd. And then you just say, Jordan, what do I need?
Yeah. I want to reference to a podcast I did. I actually did it on my own for the Rockcast. It's called the Newbie Gear List. And it is basically like I walk through everything that I would take and the options that you would have with each thing, and kind of like, pros and cons to each. And, like a sleeping bag. There's going to be down sleeping bags and synthetic sleeping bags. And before, really when I was getting into this, whatever, like a sleeping bag was a sleeping bag.
Right.
I didn't really know the difference. Well, now, I, have been able to use like down sleeping bags and synthetics. And so now I know the difference in what each are good for. And so I basically just break all that stuff down. And that was a really popular episode that I did. And I still get questions about it to this day. And it's also about prioritizing what you're going to get. So, for a new person coming out west, gonna do like a backcountry style hunt, I would say prioritize where you're going to spend your money first. And for like a true backcountry, if you're going to go, 3-5 days, a couple days, whatever, a pack is going to be one of those things. And then boots is going to be the next thing that you're not going to want to skimp out on. As far as, I would say financially too, that's just kind of the name of the game, those better packs. And I would name those, like Kafaru is one that I've been running for a long time. Right. Stone Glacier, Exo Mountain Gear, Mystery Ranch is another one.
Seek Outside's got some.
Seek Outside, yeah, those are probably the top 5.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a really good job.
Well, I think for me looking on I'm definitely looking on the outside on this. I started where I started out was breaking down my hunt. Okay, here's my expectations for my hunt and what are my limitations there. And then go into what you say is where are the holes in my game and what's needed first. But when I get to, okay, now I need a pack, because the footwear I got way ahead of the game. Like I'm still going through my break-in process on some Crispy Nevadas.
Nice.
I tried the Ativas. the Ativa GTX, the mids, and I just didn't like them.
Yeah.
And so Crispy like accepted them back, and they were like, okay, what do you want next? And I was like, well, let me try the Nevadas. And so I purchased the Nevadas, and I've been really happy with them, but it's still that break-in process. But you look at packs, and since you're running Kifaru, let's look at those, and you start looking at the bags and the type of hunt that you're going to do, like the Nargali bag. How do you choose that between like a Striker XL? You know, I mean, they have such a wide array of bags. Like, where does a guy go to start going, okay, this is exactly what I need?
So as a basic rule of thumb, what I like to tell people is like for a 3 to 5 day hunt, which is, I think that's pretty fair to say that that's what you'd want to dive into in the first hunt. I always try to do like a 5,000 cubic inch bag. So right there is going to narrow you down to a few, you know, I would say between, you know, 4,400, just because they have one called the 44 mag. That's a really nice pack. And then they have, you know, the Hoodlum is more like a 6,000 cubic inch pack, but they've got, you know, 3 or 4 right in there. Now with that Nargali, it might be 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That 5,000, it just seems to be a really good size. You know, there's a lot of guys that are running 3,000 cubic inch bags for some of these longer hunts, but you know, they've got their gear dialed. They know exactly how to pack it and whatnot. For me, like, I have my gear dialed, but I like to be able to, if it's like raining and I want to get my stuff packed up and head to the truck or whatever, I want to be able to do that pretty quick and kind of dirty, if you will.
Right.
Like, I just want to be able to like shove it all in there and not have to worry about it not fitting or strapping stuff to the outside because it won't fit or whatnot. So the good rule of thumb is that 5,000 cubic inch. And then really from there, it's just, you know, Kifaru especially has done a really good job at doing videos on each of their packs. I've done a video on about every pack that I've had with them, about packing and such.
Yeah, I think Aaron's done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
Aaron Snyder, owner operator of Kifaru, but I think he's done a phenomenal job of like kind of explaining each pack and what he likes about them and how it was developed. But I've gone so far as to like, so you're probably going to go, why'd you do that? But I've even gone to my chiropractor and gone, okay. And I tell my wife this, and she's like, why'd you go to your chiropractor for your back? And I'm like, well, he understands body and shifting weight and how it affects, you know, your spinal column and how it will affect your hips. And so I sent him like a list of like, hey, here are the bags that I'm looking at. And he knows my frame better than anybody and how I carry myself. And so I've actually been talking to him about, you know, the different bags that I'm currently in the process of like eliminating. And like, he's eliminated some that I was like dead set on too. And that's why I was like, dang it, come on. Why did I ask him a question?
Oh, really?
But yeah, that's one of the things that cause I've got to cause I'm older, you know, Jordan, she's younger. And so she can outwalk anybody, and especially in mountains. I'm just not at that level. So I have to think about things a little differently. And that's one of the questions. Cause you know, cause I don't know any better.
Yeah. Yep. So you were just asking him like the fit or things like that?
Yeah. Just fit, what to look for and where that weight needs to be distributed. Like, cause I had a pack on there. I think it was a Kuyu bag, and he was like, well, see, he goes, you want to have at least, you know, the bulk of the weight resting on the hips, and you want about 30% a little bit lower on your hips. That way, when you shift your weight, like if you're climbing up a mountain and you shift that weight, you know, forward, you know, you don't have 100% of the pack above your hips. All right, I'm going to jump in here again and say, you know what, since 1947, a passion for shooting and hunting has driven product innovation at Hodgdon Powder Company. You know what? Times are tough. Guys are starting to get into reloading. And the key formula that you've got to have in reloading is powder, and Hodgdon Powder Company can do that for you. Hodgdon Powder Company is the largest U.S. supplier of smokeless black powder and black powder substitute propellants, and the Hodgdon Reloading Data Center is a leader in reloading information. You're going to definitely want to check that out because you want that ammunition that you've just built perfectly and to precise, exacting measures to go off when you want it to. So check that data center out. Find out more at hodgdonreloading.com. Gun Talk Hunt is also brought to you by Remington. You know what? Since 1939, hunters have relied on Remington's core-locked, controlled expansion bullet. You control the expansion, and you know what? It creates a nice little wound channel, which brings down the prey even quicker. The tapered copper jacket is locked to a solid lead core, delivering massive 2 times expansion, weight retention, and consistent on-game results, meaning more meat in the freezer, which we are 100% about here on Gun Talk Hunt. Remington's Core Locked is available in soft point and pointed soft point versions, and in a range of a bullet weights for virtually every centerfire hunting rifle ever made. They've been doing this a long time. They know what they're doing. You can trust their stuff. Find out more at remington.com. Anyway, that's why I went to the chiropractor to kind of get his advice on, you know, where the support needs to be. Like lumbar support is huge in these packs.
Yeah, I think that was a really smart move. You know, utilizing your chiropractor like that. But yeah, basically there's like, you know, one of the big questions I get is like, well, what's the difference between, you know, buying a Kafaru, it's going to cost $700-800, or buying, gosh, you know, just going to Cabela's and buying like a frame pack. Like what's the difference? Because they look the same to me or whatever. I think one of the biggest differences on some of these higher end packs is the way that they make their frames to transfer that weight. So when you have a pack on, the frame should be above your shoulders. So if you throw a pack on and the hip belt fits okay, but the frame is like even with your shoulders or below it, like it's not lifting any weight. So what you want to do is you have a strap that goes from the top of the frame down to the shoulder strap. It's going to come in about your collarbone. Okay. And that is your load lifter straps. And what that's for is once you put your pack on, and the I guess correct way to put a pack on is, you know, loosen up all the straps just a little bit, like your shoulder straps, just don't have them really cranked down. Your load lifters, keep them pretty loose. You put your hip belt on first, and then you snug your shoulder straps up. You know, don't really crank them down, but snug them up to where they're comfortable. Right. And then you take your load lifter straps and you just, you know, pull them to where they're snug, and you're going to feel that weight. And what that's basically doing, that strap that comes down to your shoulder strap by your collarbone, is it's lifting that shoulder strap up. So it's lifting it off your shoulders and it's transferring that weight down to your hips. So, like, you know, a lot of times if you have a frame that, you know, even with your shoulders or below it, you don't really have a load lifter anymore. It's more of a stabilizer, and a lot of that weight is going to stay on your shoulders. Okay. And it's just not going to be comfortable. It's going to like just smoke your traps, and you're not going to be able to haul as much weight comfortably. So a lot of those just, you know, regular packs that you're going to get like from Cabela's or like a box store or something like that, they just don't have a frame system to do that or support as much weight, you know, as you're going to be packing out. You know, like an 80-pound load for an elk on the way out is pretty reasonable, I would say. And that sucks if you don't have a good frame. Well, yeah. And I guess because that's where I'm coming from, because I've had external frame packs, and they just, honestly, I just hadn't had much success with them. They were very rigid. They didn't feel like they moved with my body. And that's why these kind of frames, especially, I mean, Kafaru has the duplex light frame.
and the tactical frame. How are guys supposed to choose those frames? And we need to make it a point that these kind of, there are companies that offer additional, the additional frame systems for their packs. How does one go by selecting one of those?
So, Kifaru specifically, their tactical frame has like a thicker frame sheet, and that's for if you're carrying really awkward heavy loads, like big barrels or something like that. It doesn't let that frame flex as much because it's like an awkward heavy load. For most people, you don't want that. You're just going to want the regular, the duplex light, and that it is going to flex a little bit more, but that's also going to be more comfortable for you. And then, the next thing that you're going to see that's an option is the height of the frame. So Kifaru has, 24 and 26 inch frames. I will throw this in here too for like really short torsoed people. Like if you try a 24 inch frame and that thing is smacking you in the back of the head, then it's really too tall. Like it's just more frame than you need. Kifaru does make a 22 inch.
Oh, wow.
KJ, you're gonna need a 26 inch because I know how tall you are.
Yeah.
For your torso, but those are all things that I guess I should just keep going on this deal.
Oh yeah, you just ride that wave.
Yeah. So and then each company, EXO has 2 different size frames, I believe, that you can buy and you can adjust those. So you're just going to want to know about, in a lot of those companies, if you call in, you're like, hey, I'm 5'10", my pant inseam is 33. They're going to be able to do some really quick math and be like, all right, your torso is this length. You're going to want a 24 inch frame. And that's what I'm running as a 24 inch frame. And those are my stats basically, or my specs. And that's going to get that frame to be where you want it basically. Cause it's a very custom fit, if you will.
Yes.
So, everything that you're getting with that frame is, like the 24 inch frame is going to fit me, but it's just not going to fit you, AJ, And then, so when you keep going through the process, you figure out, okay, I want a 24 inch frame. And then you move on to the different sized waist belts. And, for me, like I've got a 32 inch waist, roughly. So that's a small belt for me. Yeah. So throw a small belt on, and then those new Kifaru frames, you can get the regular shoulder straps, or you can get long shoulder straps. So if you're like a really like barrel chested guy, the long shoulder straps might fit you better. But for builds like us, just the regulars are gonna work well. So that's kind of a rundown of the frame. I hope I covered that okay.
Oh yeah. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for because as far as, and that's, you brought up a really good point, and is reaching out to these companies because their help centers and their help desk they're people who are actually in it and they know what they're talking about. Because you can, if you're ordering these online, which is what I'm doing because I'm doing all my research and then, selecting which one best fits me, man, you got to talk to the right people. Because this isn't something that I can just run into a store because I don't have those around where I'm at. If you can't do that, man, you got to talk to the right people who know the fit. And then, you're just giving them, body measurements and they're figuring it out to get you set up right.
Yep. Yeah. And they do so when you go on Kifaru and you put in your information, you're going to put in your height, your pant inseam, things like that. They're going to adjust that torso on the pack to where it's, to where roughly where it should fit you.
Yep.
And so far for me, they've been like really close, like right out of the box. And just from those couple of measurements that you give them. So That's really nice. And then, yeah, these are like small companies. Like you're talking to the people that are running them.
Yes.
You're not talking to just a basic sales or customer service person, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what's nice with dealing with some of these small companies, and especially, man, you're getting pretty much very close to a custom fit. But no, so once a guy receives his pack, guy or gal, what should they do with it? I mean, because I'm going to order one of these this week. When I get that pack, what should be my plan of action? Am I going to start light, work my way up, or should I start just, man, let's load this up with what I'm taking and just start getting the reps in?
Yeah, so the first thing I would do typically you want to get like a good, just to make sure it's like fitted to you, put like 20 pounds in it.
Yep.
Maybe 30, 20, 30 pounds right in there. And then, yeah, I would just jump right into it. I would maybe do like that 30 pounds first, and It's going to feel pretty light when you start, but that's going to give you a good idea of like how you want to move things around, I guess, or it'll give you a good idea of like the function of the pack. Cause a lot of times, when you have that thing on, you might have it to where it feels really good. And then, in a little bit, it might start working its way down or just shifting a little bit. Kind of like boots. When you lace your boots up, you walk, a mile, and then you might have to adjust it a little bit. And then it'll give you a feel for, especially if you have a heavy load on or heavier, or you're going a long ways, you have to pack one for a long time, you might, pop the shoulder straps out just a little bit for, a mile. And then you might want to cinch them back down a little bit more for a mile. So that will just give you a good feel for that. But I would say start in that 30-pound range and just go walk with it, get used to it, and then bump up to that, what you're going to be carrying. Yeah. I don't know, 50 pounds. Not very often do I go like over 50 pounds on a training deal. Sometimes I'll do 60, but I don't do that for a really long ways. Okay. There's different mindsets on that. Some guys want to throw like 80 pounds in their pack, so then they're ready for, I guess, just all depends how you think about it. Right. But then so they're more ready for the pack out. But that's just hard on the body. Like that's
absolutely
just hard on your joints and stuff like that. So I really think that 50-pound mark for like a heavier day is a little bit better, and maybe you just go farther or something.
Right.
And do that. But that's pretty much it. Like, just some days I go light, and sometimes some days I go heavier, and just mix things up a little bit.
Mix it in. One thing that I do, like my whitetail pack, before season, I'll kind of go through it. I'll have everything lined up, and then I'll pack and unpack it, like once a week or something. Like I'll pack it and then I'll unpack it, put everything back where it goes, exactly where it goes. So I understand that pack and where I need to go to find different items. And some of these, backcountry packs, they've got a lot of pockets and they got a lot of hiding places. And I try, like, that's the first thing I'll probably end up doing with it is I'll probably pack and unpack it a million times so I understand that pack inside and out.
Oh yeah, man, that's such a good idea, and I do that a lot. Just unpack it and pack it, and some of it's just because I'm a nerd on this stuff, and I like doing it. But yeah, it's so smart because when it's dark, like when you're packing and unpacking it now, like it's in your living room, like best case scenario, right? But worst case scenario, like you roll into camp and it's raining and it's dark and you're cold and you can't find what you're looking for or whatever. Like the more that you can familiarize yourself with how you're going to pack it, then the more you're going to familiarize yourself with like things are where they need to be. So, like one thing that I try to do is have it so my tent is like easy to get to. So some of these packs they're only top loading, but some of them have these, side zips or something.
Okay.
I usually try, if I'm going to pack my pack, if the zippers say on the right side, I try to make it to where my tent is standing up on that right side. So if I do get somewhere and it's raining, I just have a zipper and then I pull my tent out and I'm like ready to rock. Just pretty easy to get to.
Yeah.
Yep. Same like with my rain gear.
Yeah. It's thoughtfulness that goes into these packs. Like, so how Aaron has developed a lot of these packs. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes through from Kafaru. The same thought needs to go through packing them. Like I don't believe he and his team have designed these packs to like go, okay, they're good to go. Just use them as is. I think, there's planning behind it. So you need to do your part as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's definitely it's going to pay out in the end.
Yeah.
Something I think we should maybe talk about just quick is like packing a pack correctly.
Oh gosh.
And this will really play into when you're hauling meat out. It can anyways. So like if you cut your pack into, thirds from the bottom up, the bottom third, you want to be like, I guess I should say you want the bulk of your weight to be in the top, like 2/3 of your pack,
right?
Of the frame. So in order to do that, like bulky, lighter things need to go in the bottom. And that typically is going to be your sleeping bag. And then I will just toss freeze-dried meals on top of those.
Right.
Anyways, and that'll give you a good platform to start building off of. And then, so I usually put my sleeping bag, those freeze-dried meals go in. I put my food bag in, and I just lay it like right in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the bag where it's like the top 2/3. And then I'll usually put my tent in one side of that, my sleeping pad in the other side of that, my cooking set, and then I'll stuff like extra layers. Usually, you don't have a puffy jacket going in, so I'll stuff my puffy jacket in between the bag and then the back of that food bag, so it keeps that stuck up against your back.
Okay.
And then just put kind of miscellaneous stuff on top of that. Your cook set, like an empty water bladder or something like that. Usually, water going in, I have like a 6-liter water bladder empty, and then the last water source I can fill it up when I go to camp or whatnot. But have that in the top 2/3. If you get a lot of that weight in the top third for some reason, if you got it packed like that, it can get really top heavy.
Yes.
And then that can be bad. But that's the basic of packing it, and that can come in really important when you're packing meat out, especially if it's a lot. If you're rolling 50 pounds of meat and 30 pounds of gear, that's pretty dang heavy. And if you don't have it packed right, if you have all that weight like in the very bottom of the bag, then it's going to try to pull you backwards like a monkey on your back.
Right. Last thing you want.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, we didn't get to early season scouting, which we're going to have to get to at some point, but we've kind of run out of time right now. But thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Jordan Budd of the Rockcast. Go give him a listen. And what's your Instagram and all that good stuff?
Instagram is jordan.bud. Pretty easy there. And then just Rockcast Podcast. And I think that's kind of it. It
is worth a listen because she covers everything. I mean, literally everything. But okay, you know what? I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to start asking this to all my guests because it is a heated topic around my household. It gets very heated. My 7-year-old is very adamant. He's on my team, and I need to find out. I need to put an end to this. Crispy bacon or floppy bacon?
Dude, floppy bacon.
Yes. Oh, you're on my team.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. If you don't like floppy bacon, you're out. But anyway, Jordan Budd, thank you so much. And we will talk to you very soon.
Thanks, man.
All right. All right, that's it, Gun Talk Hunt listeners and viewers. Thank you for joining in. As always, keep those muzzles pointed in the right direction and always be safe.